Hey y'all, it's Rick here. Welcome to Uncommon Communion. Happy Wednesday, the end of hump day here, the middle of the week. I hope it has been a good week so far for you, and I'm glad you're joining with me on this evening. Let's begin as we always begin by recognizing, realizing, celebrating, affirming, and leaning into the reality that we are always and everywhere in the holy presence of God and each other. I wasn't really sure if I was going to write to record tonight because, quite honestly, I've gotten through a pretty busy day and pretty tired. And it started off kind of on a difficult foot. If you read my reflection last night, I was doing it kind of at the end of the day. It had been a busy day, and I began to get the auras of a migraine. And I don't get migraines that often, although they are coming more frequently since I changed a medication that may have been actually suppressing them. But the eye auras make it hard to see. I was on a computer, so as you might have read, I cut out early last night. And I was feeling kind of heavy this morning and just not in a great space. I did some teaching, which both energizes me and tires me out. And here I am at the end of the day. But I came across something just a little while ago that gave me an idea to share with you. And it also is a great entry into a story, little parable that I thought about telling the other day when I was talking about brokenness. I think that was yesterday or the day before, talking about, there is a crack in everything. That's where the light gets in, which is the Leonard Cohen song Anthem. So, a little bit of context to how I came across this. It's evening, and my wife and I have a little ritual that we do most nights when we sit down to dinner together. She has a daily prayer book that she gets, and it's a liturgical prayer book. I'll put a link to it in the chat. It's a really nice little guide. If you are interested in praying the prayers of the hours, the morning prayer, noon prayer, which is the liturgy for the day, the Mass. It is from a Roman Catholic perspective, but I think it's applicable to all people of followers of the way of Christ. And it also has an evening prayer, and that's what we read this evening. And the scripture for this evening was from 2 Corinthians chapter 4, which you will recognize when I read it to you here. It's a very famous passage and just a beautiful passage. So when I heard this tonight, I was like, yeah, I want to share about that. So I'm going to read it twice in two different translations. And I'll tell you about each one in a moment. And then after that, I will share with you the story that I think the parable that I think goes very nicely with this. And then we'll conclude with one of the more mystical prayers that I have encountered in the Centering Prayer Book that I have shared with you from, and also that I read each morning. So the first translation is a New Testament translation that is, and I'll put a link to it in the chat. It's made. The scholar who translated it in the intro says that he's really trying to capture the nuance of the original Greek. So a little bit about translations. A lot of times translations either come from another language, so Greek to Latin. This is the Old Testament we're talking about. So some translations, like the New Jerusalem Bible, come from the Latin and not originally from the Greek. But even translations that come from the original Greek in which the New Testament was written do a lot to try to smooth out the language, to make it maybe more the kind of language that the English, this is English translations, that we're more accustomed to hearing. And one of the things that he says, I'm not going to read from the gospel, but he says that in the gospels, especially Mark's gospel, the verb tense changes. And in his translation, he keeps that verb tense as it is in the original Greek authentic. So you'll hear a little bit of that in this first letter or second letter to the Corinthians. So Paul says this, and I'm picking up at verse 6. He says, "Light shall shine out of the darkness. It is one who has shone in our hearts for illumination of the knowledge of God's glory in the face of the anointed. But we have this treasure in vessels of clay, so that the power's excellence might be God's and not come from us. In every way afflicted, yet not crushed, perplexed, yet not despairing, persecuted, yet not forsaken, cast down, yet not perishing, always bearing in the body and dying of Jesus, so that Jesus' life may be made manifest in our mortal flesh. For we, the living, are always being delivered over to death on account of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be made manifest in our mortal flesh." So, again, you'll probably hear some things that are a little bit different in there. He doesn't use the word Christ. He uses the word anointed, which is more direct to the translation of what you would find in the Greek. But I love what he says, especially perplexed and yet not despairing. Man, when I look at the world and current events and all of the craziness, the Epstein cover-up that is huge and ongoing, and just all the insanity, I am perplexed, but not despairing, right? And I pray especially for those who are persecuted and yet not forsaken, so that we can remember those who are being snatched and disappeared by ICE, who are afraid of deportation, who are just very much scared and terror right now. So I want to read another translation and of the same passage, and this is one that I've read before. This is the indigenous translation, the First Nations translation. And you'll hear again the nuance of the indigenous language. And again, hear how it's similar, hear how it's different. So same verses. "For the same great Spirit who told light to shine out of darkness has shined his light into our hearts. His light helps us to see the beauty of the great Spirit in the face of Creator sets free, Jesus, the chosen one. Our bodies are like old clay pots that have been filled with the sacred gift of his light. This shows that the great power we have does not come from us, but from our Creator. Trouble surrounds us and presses in on us, but we know there is always a way out. Even when we do not know which way to go, we never lose hope or give in to fear. We are hunted down and mistreated, but the Great Spirit never abandons us. Even when beaten to the ground, we get up and keep walking. Everywhere we go, death bears down on us. Our bodies are dying the kind of death Creator sets free, Jesus, died. In this way, his life will also be seen in our bodies." So, yeah. So I like that, and I like the nuance that it brings. I really like both of them, and I get something from each. I like what it says here, where the old clay pots, and that segues into the story, and also that idea that even when we are beaten to the ground, we get up and keep walking. And even when we do not know which way to go, we never lose hope or give in to fear. So powerful and hopeful words from those who are clay pots, right? And that's where our story, our parable, begins. And it's a beautiful story. I love this little story. Maybe you've heard it. Maybe you haven't. I don't know that it's one of the more common little parables, but here it is. So imagine a time and a place where they carry water from a well to a village. And a woman who is tasked with doing this carries across her shoulders a plank that has two clay pots from each side. And one clay pot is a new pot. It's well formed. It is watertight. The other clay pot is an old clay pot, and it is a little bit broken. And it still holds water, but water trickles out, runs out, and comes out. So she does this every day, carrying it, filling them, and walking the same road each day from the village, fills up at the well, and then walks back. And this is a fantasy, so the pots can talk. And one day, the broken pot is feeling a lot ashamed. And because this broken pot knows that each day when she fills him at the well, by the time she gets back to the village, the water is gone. He's empty. He feels worthless. He feels useless. And he says to the water bearer, "Why do you do this? Like, just break me, destroy me. I have no purpose. You fill me and and I lose all my water. What good am I? Like, look at that other pot over there, that perfect pot. I'm not him." So the wise water bearer says to the broken pot, says, "Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to fill you up today. I want you to notice the road that we're going to walk on, right? And I want you to look out to the side of the road that you're on and look to the side of the road that the other pot is on, the side of the path, the trail." So he does, the pot does, and he notices something quite remarkable. And she gets back to the village and she says to the pot, "Okay, well, what'd you notice?" And he says, "Well, wow, I never was paying attention. I was so busy hung up on my brokenness, watching the water trickle out, that I never noticed the flowers on my side of the road, how beautiful they are. And over on the other side of the road, there's nothing. It's just, the trail, the side of the trail." And the wise water bearer says, "Yes, precisely." She said, "I knew that you leak water. So I planted those seeds, those wildflower seeds, those flower seeds on that side of the road only. And every day when I fill you and carry you, I know that you are watering them. And over time, as the water flows out of your brokenness, those flowers have bloomed and give joy and beauty to all travelers on this road." So, we are broken clay pots. Each and every one of us has cracks and brokenness. That's where the light gets in. That's how God enters us. That's how we allow God to enter us. Because again, y'all, if we're that pot that's full and we think we got all that and, we're carrying the water and everything's great. Okay, yeah, but we're not bearing much fruit because there's nothing coming out of us, right? We might have stuff being put in, but nothing is coming out. Whereas if we have that brokenness and we're allowing the Spirit of God to enter and then flow from us out of the same wound, right? Because a lot of times those who are broken in certain areas, as they heal, they are able to assist others in those same areas. It's at the foundation of the 12 steps, right? We come to a meeting, we work a program, we journey into sobriety and recovery, and then at a certain point, we help others through those same steps. And we don't help them as an expert or an authority or someone with a degree. We help them as someone who has journeyed that same path of that brokenness just a little bit further, right? And even if you're not in a 12-step program, there's still many, many ways that you can do that. Even if it's just life wisdom that you can share with another, right? Not sharing in a finger wagging kind of way, like, here's what I think you should do, right? But in a way like, here's my experience. Here's what I did in a similar situation, and just put it out there. So I want to wrap up, as I know this is getting a little bit long, but I want to share the prayer from the other book that I read each day, which is the Centering Prayers. And today is a particularly mystical one, I think. It is geared towards the morning, and I did read it this morning. And it brought a little bit of light and a little bit of joy and some extra energy, I think, in a morning where I was feeling kind of run down by the migraine of last night. So it says this: pray with me and celebrate. God of this moment. God of this moment. I lift my open hands into the morning light to catch the present moment, this wise teacher revealing itself to me, revealing me to me, me to me. I share my tears with the earth and remember the foundation upon which I live. Your living word rises up to meet me like a morning bride. Silently, suddenly you are here again in my heart, awakening me for more love. Your loving word to be all in all. The summertime is for loving, I walk among the dewy grass and listen to the infinite moment. I can see in this droplet just about to release and fall to the earth itself, weeping spirit, crying love, drenching light, and it all helps me remember. Remember. You ever wonder about that word? To dismember, right, is to separate, to break apart. To remember is to bring back together, right? So thank you all for listening. May your day tomorrow and the next be ones filled with much wonder, much joy, much gratitude, and much light. Thank you all again. As always, blessing and good. Be gentle, be well.